Over the last decade, we've seen a lot of comic book-inspired movies. Some might say that you can't just surprise audiences anymore, let alone the critics. But Aquaman was not meant to surprise anyone, and that's why we can appreciate it for what it is. Simple, strong, and aesthetically pleasing. Everything about it is great, from the cast that makes your heart skip a beat to the special effects. We get to see Jason Momoa, whom we all know from Game of Thrones, and a red-haired Amber Heart, who looks a little similar to the famous Disney Mermaid Ariel, and the amazing Nicole Kidman, who looks stunning at the age of 51. Even though the movie received quite controversial reviews from critics, it produced one of DC's best results in recent times. Finally, DC has produced something that can compete with the dozens of funny and dynamic Marvel movies. In this video, we tell you what we liked and what we didn't like about one of the biggest movies of the last month of the year. Attention, this video has spoilers! The main character of the movie deserves special attention. Jason Momoa is pretty much playing himself. A big and kind guy who doesn't even want to become the Ocean Master, but it doesn't seem like he has a choice. Aquaman just has to go on his mission, whether he wants to or not. You see, he is the only one who can be the main guy in the ocean, and Aquaman is a hero, right? And the hero must win, save the world, and never give up. Our character is a child of two worlds, and you'll be hearing this phrase every 15 minutes of the movie. And only such a half-man, half-Atlantean can lead the underwater world to prosperity. Oh, by the way, we weren't told exactly why that is the case. But the future Ocean Master's relationship with the ocean isn't great, as the Atlanteans killed his mother for her love of an ordinary mortal and for Arthur's birth. Yes, Arthur. You get it? In the end, he'll be pulling some powerful trident from the statue's hands, and only a true king can do so. And also Aquaman's girlfriend, Mera, is also a daughter of the neighboring underwater country's king. And Arthur's birth and childhood played out just like in the Old English fable about King Arthur. You'll see a kind magician Merlin, whose name in the movie is Vulko, who appears in the king's life all of a sudden. It was him who taught Arthur some moves that helped him defeat the main villain at the end of the movie. There are just too many similarities with the legendary Arthur, and the movie creators highlighted this by giving the character the same name. Oh well, the story in Camelot is pretty great, so why not watch the version that takes place in the ocean? Especially with a hottie like Jason Momoa. Aquaman is also really fond of family values, just like the many other comic book-based movies, like Thor. And this is another story that Aquaman can remind us about. He is just as big, and he has sorta lame jokes and handles the hammer, the trident, just as skillfully. And both of them definitely have issues with their brothers. There are plenty of movies that are similar to each other and worked out just fine. This can all be forgiven for the graphics anyways. The ocean world looks amazing! Well, we didn't expect any less from James Wan, who created the 7th Fast and Furious movie. The visual effects are so impressive that throughout the whole movie, you find yourself dreaming of making it to the Atlantics with the characters. But at times, there was too much when it came to visual effects, especially when it comes to characters who tried to express their emotions, but we couldn't see them because of the graphics. Well, maybe we could have, but we weren't able to because of the movie's fast pace. The footage changes so fast, and maybe that's a ploy to find the mistakes with the graphics. Despite the fact that you expect to see a lot of action in such a movie, at times it was too much, and it took up all the screen time. What the visual effects fail to hide is the fickle dialogue and characters with little motivation. For instance, Nereus, the king of some underwater kingdom, and the father of Mera, during the whole movie, he was fully supportive of Orm, Aquaman's brother, in his desire to attack the land. He even chose not to notice the fact that Orm faked the people's attack on the underwater world. That's how ideological he was portrayed. But just when Arthur got the super-duper magical trident, Nereus gave up on his desire to take revenge on mankind and left Orm. He literally said, "Okay," and left. That's how the show's creators introduced the classic villain from the comics, Black Manta, and created some basis for the continuation of Aquaman. And they even dedicated a lot of time to this character, having explained his motivation and his costume, and one scene after the titles was devoted to him. The one thing they didn't consider was that he had no influence on the movie's storyline and was completely useless. Change him to somebody else, even to a stone, and that would have no effect on the movie whatsoever, as Black Manta hadn't influenced either the characters who get rid of him in a few seconds or the events at all. And all his screen time just serves to place hooks for him to hang on for the second movie. But when it comes to DC, that's a breakthrough. We even miss the sadness and dullness that's typical for the DC world. Judged by picture, the movie looks like a raw production of Marvel, though there were some funny moments and cool action. But Aquaman did exactly what we expected it to do: entertain the audience without making them harp on about some moral dilemmas. And that's why it was so good. We give it 4 stars out of 5, and we will wait on the sequel, which is definitely still to come.